I've been putting this off for way too long, but today I'm repotting my girl Priscilla. She is a beautiful Monstera Albo, and we've been through some things together. She was attacked by thrips in December, and I can't even tell you how many times she's taken a tumble off this plant stand because my dogs are barking in the window. So today she's getting a much needed upgrade to her pot, and I'm also getting rid of the moss pole and giving her a trellis, because the moss pole, or cocoa core pole technically, that she has right now is really 3 stacked on top of each other. And I don't know if you can tell from this angle, but it's getting a pretty good lean going. And that tiny ass pot, she's looking like she's 10 pounds of potatoes squeezed into a 5-pound bag. So let's set up shop to give my girl a makeover. And yes, I'm setting up shop inside because I live in Ohio and it is still snowing here in March. And you know I can't do anything without my furry project managers, Frank and Vinny, overseeing everything. So I do apologize in advance for the butts and nuts that you may see. And I went into this with no real game plan. So the first thing I did was undo the Velcro tape so I could take out those green metal posts that I used to try to help reinforce the moss pole. Oh gosh, I'm scared. But here goes nothing. I was nervous to lay her down because I got the aerial roots coming off the back and the leaves coming up the front, and I wanted to make sure I didn't snap either of them off. And now I can bust her out of this tiny little pot. And I was like, maybe I can just give her a little wiggle and she'll come right out. But no, of course not. So I had to use the trusty old butter knife that I brought just in case, just to wiggle in around the edges a little bit, and that did the trick. And look at all these thick roots. My girl was begging for a repot. So I start with going in with my kebab stick and carefully picking out all the old bottom rocks. And once I'm done with that, I go in and start breaking off all the old soil and trying to detangle the roots as best I can, which I spent about 30 minutes just on this part of the process. Baby, you're in the way. Really? Then I did take a short intermission just to take out her moss poles before I went back at it again with the detangling, which sometimes I honestly don't even have the patience to do this to every repot, but since she was so root bound, her roots were super tangled, so I felt like she needed it. The amount of roots that she has compared to her old tiny pot is crazy. Now I can ditch that old soil and get her new trellis installed into her new pot. And yes, this is the same trellis that Gina has. And I always get lots of questions on where I get these trellises at. I get these from Lowe's. It's with their outdoor garden stuff. And I'm going to be securing the trellis to the pot with zip ties exactly the same way that Gina is set up. So once I get it positioned as straight up as possible, I drill a hole on each side of the post and I stick the zip tie in one hole, wrap it around the post, and then take it back out the other hole and tighten it on up. I do the same thing to the other side, and I also do it at the bottom. This trellis ain't moving nowhere. And I forgot to record this part, but I do cut off the extra part of the zip ties that's just sticking out. Starting with the first layer of her pot being the bottom rocks, of course. And I know there's always controversy around the whole bottom rocks topic. To each his own, and if you're not a bottom rocker, sucks to suck. I'm just kidding, but the bottom rocks always work well for me and I always get good results. Now it's finally time to get Miss Girl into her new pot. I wanted to get her secured to the trellis first and then I'll fill the soil in. And her aerial roots were all crisscrossed and tangled together before, so I tried my best to get them into a more neat formation while still directing them down into the pot. That's just how I prefer to do it because I don't like the look of the aerial roots growing outside of the pot. Once I get her positioned just right, I strap her on with some Velcro tape. Now I can finally fill her in with soil, and I'm using my usual go-to potting mixture of cacti soil, orchid bark, and perlite. And I'm using a disposable cup for this part because guess who lost their shovel? My project managers were pretty pissed about that one. And I was so tired after this repot that I didn't even water her until the next day. But she's finally done, and I'm really hoping that Miss P starts popping off now that I gave her this upgrade. And look how good she looks with the rest of the living room jungle. I'm obsessed. Bye!